What was your first kiss like?
It was after church one night.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you?
Yeah, we had, her name was,
Oh.
she was my first girlfriend. And it was just very bland, really.
Well, I'm glad for you because my first one was awful.
Was it?
It was so bad.
Wow.
Welcome to the Bookish Introverts Podcast. Join host Amazon bestselling author Brett Nelson and avid reader Melanie Dyer as they dive in to review books they've read, then chat with the amazing authors behind them. Quiet minds, big bookshelves. You don't want to miss it.
Hey everyone, it's Brett and Charity, and we are back for another book talk. And today we are not doing an author interview.
We are not.
As much as I've enjoyed them,
They've
it
been
is
great.
so nice to get back to our roots of talking about
I have been so excited all week to talk about a book.
Me too. And I finished this book like, I don't know, what, 3 weeks ago?
I think about 3 weeks ago.
Something like, and I'm like, oh, I want to hurry up and talk about this book.
Yes.
Because it is so good, you guys.
Yes.
Since you picked the book, tell them what we're going to talk about today.
So today we are going to be discussing Nightroad by Kristin. And if you've not read any of Miss Hannah's book, I highly recommend her. This is my, I think, 5th book of hers that I've read.
Okay.
But it had been a couple of years. And so when we were kind of talking about something, I was like, I really liked her. And I asked if you'd read any and you hadn't, but you had wanted to.
Okay. I
Right?
wasn't completely truthful in that because I
okay.
wanted to save it for the podcast. I have read one of her books
Which
last
one?
year and I hated it.
Which one?
The Winter Garden.
I haven't read it, but one of my friends just recommended it to me this week and it's
Oh,
saved in my
really?
Kindle to read.
I
And you didn't like it?
absolutely hated that
Oh,
book.
okay.
Yes,
I'm going to
I
read it
was
and then we
not
can discuss.
a fan of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And not because it was a poorly written book. Kristin Hannah
great
is
writer.
in the technical sense, she is fantastic.
So was it just the content you didn't love?
The good thing about it, I mean, yes.
Okay.
It sort of is a book where it's this mother and daughter. It's these two daughters and their mother. Their dad has died, and so they're sort of navigating the grief process.
Oh, okay.
And it's very dark in places, and the mother goes sort of goes back in time and relives.
Oh, so it's like a dual timeline?
Yes.
Which you hate.
Which I hate. Which I didn't hate it as much when they do it the way she does it because it goes back to one of the characters' previous. So it's not like there are some authors that when they do it, it goes back to a dual timeline and it's a totally different person. And these two people, they're usually 200 or 300 years apart. It's the person in the current timeline. And then you've got this other person in the other timeline, totally unrelated to the current timeline. And then at some point their paths cross and
converge.
I just don't like those.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Kristin Hannah, it wasn't as bad, but it was just very...
You didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
That's okay. We're not going to like every book we read.
Yeah, but I still gave it 5 stars. Even though I did not like the book, I still gave it because it was an impeccably written book.
I will say everything I've read of hers has been that way. She, to me, is probably one of the best authors of our current time.
Oh, for sure.
I would say. And her fiction is historically based, I would say, in many ways, because she draws from like regions and areas and things like that. But I also think what I love about her is that she just writes about the human condition.
Yes. Yeah. It's not
in a very
Puppy
real
Dogs
way.
and Sunshine.
No.
Or at least the ones I've read.
I don't think any of them have been Puppy Dogs and Sunshine that I've read.
Yeah. Which to me, that's what I consider a grittier book. And that's the style of book I like to read.
Yeah. Well, it feels real, right? Because life is not Puppy Dogs and Sunshine.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Life is gritty.
Yeah, but before we get too far into it, I do want to give a little bit of a disclaimer here. Since on the podcast, we do discuss primarily Christian fiction. We have done a few clean. There is profanity in this book.
More than I had anticipated, and I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, totally fine.
Did not realize.
I'm not a prude. I can look past it. There was a couple of very tame intimacy scenes.
Yes.
But really, in the grand scheme of what I've read of secular fiction in the past, it was very tame. I just don't want to lead our Christian listeners in a direction that could be offensive.
This is not a book that I would recommend for anyone with, firm convictions about reading any of that type of thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to be happy with this.
Yeah. So just be aware of that.
They were not gratuitous in any way, I didn't think.
Not at all.
But it is there.
But as a Christian, it can be shocking.
It can be.
Yeah.
And I also would not recommend this for like teenagers necessarily. It's pretty gritty in some parts.
It is, yeah.
Now there might be excerpts of it that I think would be useful And we'll kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
But as a whole, it's probably not a book for a young adult or for a teenager per se, or a young child specifically. I read, and that's the thing that I kind of think about. Like when I was 12 years old, I was reading at college levels. So the things that I was devouring were not always probably content appropriate.
Yeah.
But I was just looking for anything.
Yeah.
And so if you have a child like that, this is probably something you're going to want to read first, and you might want to censor some parts or however you want to handle that.
Yes.
But overall, I did really enjoy the book.
Oh, I did too. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was an emotional roller coaster.
It was an emotional ride.
It really was.
Yes.
It was not.
It was not what I expected.
Yeah, and it was not what I expected.
As the book kept going,
it was not predictable.
That's right. I thought I would kind of like, I think I know where we're going to go. Nope.
Yeah.
Not going that way.
Yeah, and she is a primo author in the technical sense.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this because I love Christian fiction. There are very few Christian authors that
write at that level.
On this level.
Yeah.
And I think that's sad. I wish there were more technically
awesome,
great. And I'm not saying there are some fantastic Christian fiction authors, but
do you think, and I'm going to ask from an author's perspective, do you think that has to do with like, because you have, as you go through a writing process, you have your beta readers and gamma readers and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it has to do with the caliber of people that are willing to beta read for Christian readers? Like, do you think it's something to do with that? Or do you think it's content related?
A little bit, but I just think, okay, and again, this is just my opinion.
Yeah, no. We're not experts.
I'm not trying to say anything bad about Christian fiction authors.
No, yeah.
But I just think people who are exceptional writers, especially in the technical sense, they go into the general market because they can make more money off of it. Christian fiction authors are going into it often as a ministry.
Yeah, they feel a calling.
Yeah, I just don't think, even in bigger publishing companies, like Christian fiction publishing companies,
mm-hmm.
I don't think they have the level of editors that
the resources.
Like Random House and Simon and Schuster has.
Sure.
Again, if you're a primo editor, you're not going to go.
They're going to work where the money is.
They're going to go to work where the money is. So I just don't feel like in Christian fiction that's where people go.
Right.
People go into Christian fiction because they're more interested in the ministry aspect.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's just what do you think?
I think you're probably correct.
Yeah.
It's sad to say, but I kind of have been trying to teach my kids this. Like, pretty much everything in life kind of comes down to money.
Absolutely.
Not that it's a bad, and Barrett's like, well, the Bible says money's evil, and then we have to have the whole conversation. No, you need to read the verse in its entirety. The love of money is the root of all evil, not that money is evil.
Yeah.
And so all these things, but I have to teach them, like, money's not good or bad. It's amoral. But it does make life easier.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Generally, people are going to go where the money is.
Yeah.
Because we have to live and survive.
Yeah.
And we all also kind of like to be comfortable.
We do, yeah.
So
I
think you're probably correct.
I really wish more Christian fiction could be up to this standard. Again, could be part of why I have that opinion, because I mostly read lesser known authors. Yeah. I don't read a lot of, I've just gotten into Francine Rivers. Francine Rivers is really,
she's so good.
I consider her probably one of the premier authors when it comes to the technical aspect of writing. Like, her writing feels like a Simon and Schuster level book.
I agree.
Yeah, and I haven't read all of her books.
There's a couple that we should read.
Is there?
Oh, they're so good. And it's been years since I read them, so it would be nice to go. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a few of hers in my Kindle, so we will do that. She's so good. And she does historical fiction, but there was one I read that very personally affected me because it was a story of a minister and his wife and kind of how their marriage imploded. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of lived through that as a child.
Yeah.
And so when I read that book, literally it ministered to places inside of me that I didn't realize.
Because you witnessed that firsthand.
Yeah. And so I think that's the value in Christian fiction, right? Is it can speak to relate to situations we've actually lived through.
Yes.
And minister to those places and many times. So it has its place and it's valuable and we love it.
Yeah. And we're actually going to talk about that more in depth in a couple of weeks when we do our, we've got one coming up in a couple of weeks that is we're not going to talk about a specific book. And I'm still,
it's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, I'm not, and I still don't know exactly what that's going to look like because we haven't really had time to set it, but we're going to talk about stuff like this in that podcast.
Yes. And I think it's going to be really good. So make sure you come back and join us for that.
Yeah.
We're excited about it.
Tell us a little bit something about Kristinhannah.
Okay. So, I did a little research and looking up on the internet, and here's what I found. Kristin Hannah is a New York Times bestselling author whose ability to weave emotional and compelling narratives has earned her a dedicated readership and critical acclaim in the literary community. She's known for her best-selling works that include The Nightingale, which is the first one I ever read.
That's on my list.
Oh, you got to read it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Firefly Lane and The Great Alone.
I think Firefly Lane, isn't that adapted into like a Netflix?
Netflix optioned it, and it was a show. And when it premiered, it was the highest rated Netflix show. So it's excellent. It's on there. And then her latest novel is The Women, which came out last year. I have not read it yet.
Okay.
And then she's got 24 novels she started writing in 1991.
Wow.
Before she became a full-time author, Miss Kristin Hannah was a lawyer, and she wrote for various different publications just kind of as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
She published her first novel, A Handful of Heaven, in 1991. And actually, as I got to reading, I discovered that she was put on bed rest during her pregnancy. And so she was bored, so she just started reading, and then she decided to write.
Hey.
So it's kind of cool.
I always love hearing how authors wrote that first book.
Yeah, and it also, several of the articles that I read said that her mother kind of had told her, like, she was going to school to be a lawyer, and she's like, but why? You're going to be a writer.
Oh,
so her mother kind of was like, I don't know if you would call that prophetic,
so
or saw that in her.
I wonder what her mom saw, like, had Kristin dabbled in writing, and her, like, how did her mom know that?
I don't know. It didn't really go any further, but her mother said that, and then
I would love to
later she did.
I don't think we're at the level to get a Kristin Hannah.
That would be super cool.
Hey, I'm not above trying, though.
Hey, when you send an email, it won't hurt.
All I can do is say no.
So then she is married. She and her husband live in the Pacific Northwest. They have one son. And, you know, as I think you probably noticed in the book, it's set in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
So that's a region that she really loves. And several of her books kind of focus around that or have deep ties back to that in the stories. I've never been there, but these books, like the way they describe it, it makes me want to go there and experience it.
I always wanted to go to Seattle. Always.
Maybe we can make it a book trip.
We should. We can make a book trip, and then we'll record a podcast.
That'd be so fun.
That'd be fun.
We might have to do it.
Yeah, we do. Let's do
it. So the last thing I have here is that in addition to her writing, she's an advocate for various causes, including literacy and women's rights. And she's been involved in charitable work and often emphasizes the importance of reading and education in her public appearances. So those are things that are important to her. And I mean, as a writer, it should be.
It should be, yeah.
So the Nightingale is actually currently in production to be turned into a movie.
Oh.
And then they've also optioned The Great Alone, and it's in development.
So they've got their talents.
They've got their talents in her books. But you know what? The stories are so compelling. I completely understand why.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened before now.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes it takes a while as an author for things to start happening.
Yeah. And she one of the interviews I read was she's a University of Washington graduate, I believe, UW graduate. Mm-hmm. And one of the interviews I read was through that publication, and she kind of talked about that, about how it took a little while. Like, she had been writing for a while, but The Nightingale was really kind of what set her writing career up on the upward trajectory.
Where was The Nightingale in the number of her books? Do you know?
I don't have the list pulled up.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah.
I think it's about midway. Like, that was in the early 2000s, maybe, or maybe mid-aughts, and so
which is kind of. That's about normal when it comes to writing. You know, very rarely do people hit gold right away. Yeah, it usually takes a while to get to that one book where everybody takes notice.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah. So since you chose this book, I'm going to let you drive the car on this one.
Oh my
so
God. We're going to try.
Of course, I'll jump in too, but you take us into the book and get us started on it.
Okay. So, Nightroad, you know, when I saw that title, I was like, I don't even know where this is. Like, is this going to be like
what is that?
A road at night? But actually, it is the name of a pivotal place in this novel.
Yes.
And so as I kind of figured that, I was like, oh, something's going to happen on this road. And something indeed does happen. But when we start the book, we are introduced to a young lady named Lexi Bale, and she is a ward of the foster care system. Okay. So immediately my heart is just like,
yeah.
Because I know people who are foster parents, and I've known kids who have come through foster care, and it is not a pretty situation.
It's it can be a very unstable life.
Yeah. And so as we are introduced to Lexi, we learn that she is, you know, being moved homes again. And you hear that, like, she'd been through 7 families in 6 years, 6 different schools, like just a lot of upheaval and turmoil. Her mother was a drug addict. Mm-hmm. And Lexi had watched her overdose as a child.
Yes.
Can you imagine the trauma? Like,
yeah.
so much.
It's a wonder she turned out.
Yeah, because we get the sense that like she's a bright, pretty good child.
Yeah.
In all things.
Yeah, she's very smart, she's very intelligent, but she grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, so her life has almost depicted that.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. And so when we meet her, she's 14. They're about to start her first year of high school. I remember being 14 in my first year. I was a nervous wreck my first day of high school. I remember like agonizing over what I was going to wear, terrified. And I was really blessed and lucky in that I had a really good youth group. And so like most of the kids in my youth group went to my school.
Yeah.
And
so you had that familiarity.
I had that familiarity, and I had people like looking out for me too. But even then I was still a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And
I was never one of those people that loved school.
Oh, you didn't love school?
No.
I
felt a sickness in the pit of my stomach every time I went to school.
Oh, Brett.
Yeah, it was not a happy time for me.
See, and that's how Barrett, my son, he did not enjoy public school, and that was part of why we pulled him. He was bullied, and it was really hard. But that was kind of that same thing. Like when he was in 4th grade, that first semester before we pulled him, like every day that we went to school, he was crying his eyes out, begging me not to make him go in.
Yeah.
No kid should feel like that going to school.
Yeah. I never did that because I knew I had to. So
it wasn't an option.
Yeah.
I hate that. I'm sorry you didn't have a good high school experience.
That's all right.
There were some parts of mine that weren't great, but overall, I mean, I liked learning and I liked to read. And so I got to read a bunch at school and not get in trouble for it. So I was cool with it. But yeah, I totally was thinking about that. Like I was remembering as I was reading that, like here she is, this foster kid who has like one suitcase full of all of her belongings, which was not much, mostly books. We find that she's a reader.
Yeah.
And
so we can identify with that.
We identify, relate automatically to that. But I was thinking like I agonized over what to wear that first day of high school, and she didn't have many options. Like that was one of the first touchstone moments is like in that first chapter, Lexi is with her caseworker and she finds out she does indeed have an aunt, and after her mother had told her she had no family. She didn't know her father. And so they did find though an aunt, and this aunt agreed to take her in. And so that's where she moves and where she starts high school. And her Aunt Eva is just the sweetest little character. I can picture her in my head. Like I can see Aunt Eva.
Yeah.
In her trailer with all the bright colors. And,
yeah. She definitely became a stabilizing force.
Yes.
And Lexi really needed that at this point in her life.
Yes. And so we learned that Lexi actually has some indigenous American background because her aunt lives on a reservation. Did you catch that part? Like that was a kind of a little detail, but
I don't remember that.
Port George, where her aunt lived across the island, is a reservation for Indians.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. Have you ever been through any of those? Have you ever driven through? When we went out west, we drove through some like in New Mexico, and it is heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking. So I could almost picture that too. Like it's not like she was coming into this wealthy background, but it was stable. It was a home. She had her own room, and her aunt loved her. Like even though she had just found out about her, she loved her.
Yeah.
So Lexi goes to school, and the first day she's like, I know what it's like to be the new kid. She's going to keep her head down, not look up, keep going. And then about halfway through that, we kind of leave Lexi and Eva, and we meet a lady named Jude. And it's immediately evident from the way that the author describes her home and her garden and the things that she's caring for that they are wealthy.
They're wealthy.
They come from money.
And she is a helicopter mom.
Oh, yes, she is.
I'm glad I didn't have a mom like that.
Yeah, me too. But it becomes clear that like she deeply loves her children, but almost to the point of like suffocation.
Yes.
And like trying to control every aspect of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost to the point that her kids, Mia and Zach, we'll talk about those here coming up, they almost had a dysfunctional like codependency on each other.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because they're twins.
They are twins, yeah. And so we learn a little of Jude's backstory that she'd wanted to become a mother, had trouble conceiving, several miscarriages, and then finally, by some miracle, got pregnant with twins and was able to carry them to term.
Yeah,
and so
got
she has
a lot of personal baggage.
Lots of personal baggage, and like she's kind of working through all of that.
Yeah,
and we read that as through her perspective.
And she also has mama issues.
She has mama issues,
which we'll talk about later in the book too.
Her mama is a work.
Yeah,
piece of work. So she's getting them off to school for their first day of high school, and she's feeling all the emotions of a mom, sending her kids off to high school for the first time. And then we jump back into that first day of school, and Lexi meets Mia. Well, actually, she meets Zach first. sees Zach, and it's like,
she's in class, and the mean girls are being the
picking
typical
on
mean
her.
girls, and Zach kind of comes up and tries to.
And he's Mr. Popular.
Yes, he is the popular jock.
And she says, you can recognize, and you're right. I mean, like, you can walk into school and you know who the popular kids are.
Oh, for sure.
Easily.
Yeah.
But he was kind to her and grabbed her elbow and, like, she writes it like instant love, like instant love.
Yeah. And of course, she like the popular hunky guy talks to her and she freezes up and she can't even acknowledge him.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then they go on, and at lunchtime, she goes into the lunchroom and is like, nope, not facing that. So she leaves and goes to eat her packed lunch, and she sees a girl sitting under a tree that's kind of different. Like, she's dressed different. She's got on Converse sneakers and a pink tutu, like doing her own thing. And it says in there, that was one of the quotes I love, that she's like, I recognize that as like, leave me alone. I don't need you. And so those are my people. So there she goes.
Yes.
And walks up to her and asks to be her friend. And it turns out that that's Mia, Zach's twin sister.
Which is very odd because Mia comes from a very wealthy family. And so she and Lexi are not your typical people that you would expect to be friends, for sparks to fly and to become friends. But
but they do.
Yeah.
Like, they hit it off, and and she notices she's reading. And so we find that's their connection. Yeah. They both love the classics. Like, Mia's reading Wuthering Heights, I think. Have you read that book?
No. Well, I may have in school, but
I do not recommend it. It was probably my least favorite novel I read in high school, and it was required reading. I will never read it again.
I may have read it in high school, but I never read a classic book that I liked in high school. So
I did not find that there was anything redeeming in either of the main characters in that book. So
really?
That's my personal opinion. I don't like them either one. And then but she's reading Wuthering Heights, and Lexi's favorite book is Jane Eyre, and so they're both kind of classics of the same era, and they bond over that, and they start talking and realize that they have a lot in common.
Yeah.
And so Mia very kindly shows her around and invites Lexi to her house after school. And at first she's like, I don't know. But then she's like, okay, yeah, I'll go. Well, then, like, she's introduced to their house and realizes it's like this palatial, like, holy moly. Yeah. And she's nervous because, like, she knows that their mom is going to start asking questions, and she feels like probably she's not going to want her to be friends with her once she figures out that she's out of foster care.
Her mom's a heroin addict. Yeah.
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 So I think those are all things that we can relate to. Like,
for sure.
Yeah. And as a mother, I can even relate to Jude having concerns about you do have concerns about who your kids hang out with.
Sure. You don't want to be snobby about it, but as a parent, and I'm not even a parent, as a parent.
But you're a godparent, and you're invested in those kids.
And you really want your children to make healthy decisions on who they bring into their lives. And you and I have heard this many times. Who you bring into your circle can either bring you down or push you up.
I read somewhere my dad said it. I'm not sure. I think my dad might have told us this, but I'm sure it came from something. But like that, the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most are going to be the ones that you're the most like. And so, really, if you're trying to excel and get better and be better, you need to surround yourself with people who are a level up from you.
Yes,
or a couple levels up from you.
Yes, for sure.
And so, I'm kind of trying to teach my kids that, like, yeah, you can have friends and that's good, but if you really want to excel at something, you need to find someone who knows more than you know.
Yes,
and be around that person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So Jude's just super happy that Mia has made a friend, because we find out that Mia has struggled to make friends her whole life. And so while her brother is super popular, the golden child, Mia doesn't have any close friends. And we also find that, like, the year before, there had been a major thing where a girl had become her friend, and then we find out only that she really wanted to be close to Zach. Like, she was interested in him.
Yes.
And then when that didn't happen, she dropped Mia, like, I kid you about, like, that is the biggest betrayal.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So, Jude's concerned about that, but also just thrilled that her daughter has found a friend.
Yes.
Okay, you take over for a minute. So I gotta gather my thoughts.
So the story goes to 2003, and Mia, Lexi, and Zach are at a high school party.
And they're in their senior year now, because it does kind of skip some years.
And that is one thing about the book.
It's not a slow burn where it's like...
but it didn't bother me in this book.
I thought it was appropriate. It was written in a way that it wasn't jarring. I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of times I'm not a fan of books that have huge,
because that's not the only one we'll make.
No, there are several. Yeah, but it makes sense with the story.
Yes.
So they're there. Mia leaves to go to be with a guy that she has a crush on, and Lexi and Zach are left alone. And so, of course, as a reader, you're like,
here we go.
We know what's fixing to happen here.
But he has a girlfriend.
He has a girlfriend. Yeah.
Because even though there was that instant spark between the both of them, because they both felt it.
Yeah.
In 9th grade, he never acted on it because she was Mia's friend, and she never acted on anything because she was Mia's friend. And so because that's his twin and they have a bond, a deep bond, he would never do anything to harm her. And she doesn't want to lose her only friend.
Well, now at this point, had Jude had this conversation with Lexi about that, or maybe that came
I think
after
that's a little
started.
later.
Okay.
No, she does. Or in that first part, she does tell her about what happened with Haley, the girl before.
Yes.
That had broken Mia's heart. And so then immediately Lexi's just like, well, I'll never do that to her.
Yeah.
So she's like, not even going to entertain it.
Was never even necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a conversation and she asks Zach why he doesn't like her because he always acts like he avoids like her. Yeah. Which it can be the number one clue. Sometimes
he really does like her.
Yeah. Sometimes when you like somebody and you don't want to know, you don't want that to be known for whatever reason. Sometimes you can act like you don't.
Absolutely.
Like yeah. It's kind of a weird emotional game people play.
Yeah. And it's like even with kids on the playground, be like the old thing of like, oh, he's pulling her pigtails, or it's because he likes you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just trying to get your attention,
And so he says, is that what you think? But then their conversation is interrupted by Zach's girlfriend. And so, of course, they never really get to finish the discussion.
Comes on.
Yeah.
So they go to, is it homecoming party? Homecoming dance?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Zach's girlfriend is out of town, so he's not going to go. But Mia gets invited by this boy she likes.
Yes.
But she doesn't want to go without Lexi.
Yes.
And so Lexi finally is like, they go to try on dresses and Lexi tries one on because Mia doesn't want to try them on alone. But Lexi's like, I don't have money to afford this. I can't do it. Mm-hmm. But Jude very kindly is like, listen, I'll get Zach to go with you and y'all can just go as friends. And that way Mia can still go. Cause she's really, I feel like throughout the whole book, Jude was really sort of more invested in Mia than Zach.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if it's because Zach seemed like he just was doing okay. So she's like, well, I got to focus on this child that needs my help more. Mm-hmm. But, it's hard as a parent sometimes to balance that. And my kids will come to me sometimes and be like, well, you're paying more attention to the baby. Well, the baby is not self-sufficient. Not 12 years old.
It's more help.
But I do have to remember, like, they still need my time and attention too.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things in the book I noticed, like, as a mom, I was like, man, Jude's going to have to, like, rein it in with Mia.
Yeah.
But she does very kindly buy Lexi a dress for homecoming and Zach agrees to take her as a friend and they all go. And then Mia,
there's a couple of like party things. I think there's a party before the dress shopping. And that's where we're sort of
like a beach party or something, right?
Yeah. And that's sort of where we're introduced to the kids sort of have their first moment with liquor.
Yeah.
And
that's a running theme throughout this book.
That is a running theme throughout the book.
And I think it's a running theme throughout life.
It is. Yeah. I never dealt with stuff like that because I just never.
I was never invited to parties.
Me either.
Like everybody knew I was not going to go.
And I never wanted to go.
No.
I never wanted to go to parties. Like here in where we live, there's this thing called, or at least back in the day, it was called Cruising Grand. I never even wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Like on Friday, Saturday nights. We live in a small town, so there's literally nothing to do but go bowling. Go bowling or the movies. And so a lot of the kids, like literally Grand Avenue would be jam-packed with cars. And
just
all they would
up
do,
and down?
It was kids just cruising up one end down a Grand and down the other.
That was not really a thing by the time I got to high school.
Was it not?
I think there was a little bit of it that would happen. But, we didn't come over here that often. And my parents were also very choosy about like who I could ride with.
For sure.
How far we could go, just for safety reasons. I think I might have done cruising out like one night on a date. And I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. We're just riding around.
Yeah, wasting gas.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
which, gas was way cheaper back then. So.
Yeah, my friends and I, we were born, of course, we were all Christians, so like on Fridays and Saturday nights, we would go to somebody's house and play Monopoly or,
we watched movies at home.
Have pizza.
Had sleepovers with my friends. Like, I had a group of 2 girls that I was super close to, and if we weren't at one of our house, like we were pretty much all 3 together on the weekends.
You knew
at somebody's house.
Be.
Yeah. So that was nice. But yeah, that's a huge thing in this book. Like you see over and over is that these parties are a big concern, and through the senior year, especially, like kids are just finding any reason to throw a party.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where are these kids getting the alcohol though? That's what I want to know. How does this happen?
I don't know if someone's big brother is.
Is it because we were good kids and so we didn't try to do that we don't know how this happens?
That may be what it was. Yeah.
Right? Because I'm just baffled the whole time. Like they're talking about walking past kegs, and I'm like, how are these teenagers getting kegs?
I was the type of kid, like if I had ever gone to a party and there was liquor there, I would have been like, Mom, come and get me.
Yeah. And that's one thing that we do see through the book. Jude is constantly encouraging them, like, please don't drink, but if you do, call me.
Yes.
Don't drive.
And I want to
Call
have a
me.
conversation about this when we get to that. Yeah, but she did. She tells
him that.
And before we get to that, we do have our first interaction with Jude and her mother. We kind of see we kind of see
why she is the way
she is. Her mother is like
cold.
Very cold. She's a gallery owner.
Mm-hmm.
And she really wanted Jude to grow into her shoes, and that's not what Jude wanted.
No.
And so Jude eventually marries the greatest guy. He's a doctor.
Miles is like maybe my favorite character in the whole book.
And he's got like an eeny, meeny, miny part in the book, but he is such a stabilizing
He's such a grounding, yes. Just like he's the touchstone that I feel like everybody goes back to.
Jude is the high and mighty helicopter mom, and he's just the chill dad.
He's like, hey, you gotta lay off. Let these kids have some room.
Yeah.
Let them breathe.
We find out that Jude was raised by nannies.
Yes. Her father died when she was very young.
Yes. And then Jude, she was supposed to go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
But she met and became pregnant with Miles, who was in medical school. So her mother was very infuriated by the way Jude's life turned out, because she was supposed to be a lawyer, not be a housewife.
Her mother's kind of high and mighty.
Yeah. Which is where Jude gets it. I mean, she came across it honestly. The apple usually doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's right.
Yeah. So now we're kind of up to the point where they're shopping for dresses.
So they shop for the dress. And so, what I loved is like, they have this, her and her mom, back to her and Caroline, they have this like standing lunch date.
Once a month.
But she talks, like, from her perspective, she's like, we don't talk about anything real. We don't know one another.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of a farce of just like, we're doing this because we are obligated to. Neither one of them really wants to be there. They're not connecting, but they have 1 hour every month where they sit down for a meal.
And neither one of them enjoys it.
No.
I'm like, why not just give up the charade and call each other on Christmas?
Yes, exactly. But they don't.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand that. I was like, I would just not go. So we'll jump back to they've bought Jude buys them the dresses, talks her into going. Zach has agreed to it. And I loved how Jude like you can get the feel at this point that Lexi has become a part of their family, and Jude has kind of become a mother that Lexi needed.
Yes.
Which Aunt Eva is too, but Aunt Eva doesn't have the resources that the Faradays have.
Eva works nights at Walmart.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Jude has kind of stepped in and really loves Lexi like she is one of her own. Mm-hmm. So she does her hair and her makeup for the dance.
She gives her the whole experience.
Whole shebang. And Lexi is like shocked at how beautiful she is. I think all teenage girls can relate. All girls can relate to that. All women can relate to that. Because we all have had those ugly duckling periods. Like, where you just don't feel pretty.
Especially in high school.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
I know I was gawky and gangly in high school.
Oh, I was all arms and legs.
80 pounds dripping wet in high school. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was tall and skinny and no curves, like just straight as a board.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Zach, she like comes down the stairs and Tyler, Mia's boyfriend, is there and Zach's there. And she's just like, I can't do this. I'm not going to make it. He's too good looking. And he kind of looks at her and she thinks he hates her because he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And so they go and she's real resigned.
Teenage boy.
Yeah. She's real resigned to like, this is going to be the worst ever, but I'm doing it for my friend because I love my friend and I want her to have the best homecoming experience.
Yeah.
And also Zach's mom really wanted him to go because it was pretty well known he was going to be crowned homecoming king. That was not a thing. We do not have a homecoming dance at my school. Did they have one at yours?
Yeah.
Did you have like homecoming king and stuff?
Yeah.
We had a homecoming queen, like football homecoming, but there was no dance or anything.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it was very obvious who was going to win it. A jock.
Every year
a jock and a cheerleader.
Every year.
I mean, I may not know the exact person, but, there's always the beta, the king and queen, of the semester. And so, you could pretty much
predict.
It's a popularity contest.
Because I was watching that and I was like, how did they know? But
yeah.
That's how.
Okay. Yeah. It's just it's always a jock and a cheerleader, pretty much.
So while they're at the dance, there's this moment where Zach does dance with Lexi and then pulls her outside because she says something to the effect of like, "Why do you not like me?" And he pulls her outside. And he's like, "Is that what you think?" And then like he kisses her, and it rocks both their worlds.
Yeah.
But then Mia shows up, and they're just like, "We can never let her know this happened. We have to pretend this never happened."
Yes.
But that's almost like
this is the only friend Lexi has.
Yes. And really, Mia is Lexi is Mia's only friend.
Yeah. Plus, it's really her only family.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like Pandora's box. Once you've let it out, you can't really put it back in.
No.
And I think that's true of love.
Yeah.
She asked them what they were doing, and Lexi lies to Mia, and that weighs heavily on her for a while through the book.
They are such good friends to each other.
They are.
They are really the epitome of friendship.
Yeah. And,
as much as you can be in your teenage years.
I was blessed to have friends like that, through junior high and high school. And I'm still really close. Jack was one of them. And, we're still super close. We talk almost every day. And I'm so thankful for her constant friendship. So, that was one thing I loved, was like, I could see similarities, like just doing crazy, silly little things together all the time.
Yeah.
That's how you build that foundation of trust and love. And you can tell they really have that.
Yeah. Well, and it was so nice because a lot of times in books, especially, I'm not a fan of books that center around teenagers because I don't find teenagers that interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
And I think that's what made this one easy to read for adults, though, is because Jude is the touchstone that we keep going back to.
Yes. Yeah. Jude's story is
it's really about her.
Yes.
It's about the others, but it's more about her.
Did you ever watch 90210 growing up? Beverly Hills 90210?
I've seen a few episodes, but I've not watched the whole arc.
Back in the day, I loved that show. And do you know, of course, it was a teenage movie or a teenage TV show, but the minute Mom and Dad Wash were written out, I was like, not interested.
Out. Yeah, because they are like the grounding force, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of how it is. Even though Jude could be very unlikable at times, but she was very well written. Kristinhannah did a very good job with her because even though she was unlikable at times,
sometimes she's very likable.
Yeah, yeah. Just that was
that's hard. But isn't that right of most people? Like, we all have bad moments.
We
all have moments where we're unlikable, but we also have moments where we are likable.
Exactly.
So Zach is crowned homecoming queen. They go to their separate ways. Lexi can't go to school on Monday because she can't face Mia. Mm-hmm. Tuesday rolls around and she has to go back, and he comes to the ice cream shop where she works and is like, will you meet me after work at the beach?
Yeah, at 10 o'clock that night.
And against her better judgment,
my mother never would have let me out of the house at 10 o'clock at night.
My curfew on school nights was 9:30 and on the weekends was 10. And if I was not home, I was grounded.
I can remember my friend Chrissy, we went to church together, and I can remember back in the day, at that time, Chrissy had a car. I didn't have one yet. We were probably 16, 17. I didn't have a car yet. And so anywhere we went, Chrissy would have to drive. She had this yellow hatchback car, and we called it Tweety.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. And of course, whatever time we had to be home, 10 o'clock on weekends or whatever.
Yeah.
And we, like at 10:01, the porch light would start flashing on and off.
Yeah. Come inside.
Yeah,
it's curfew. Yeah. My dad always said that nothing good happens after midnight anywhere ever.
Exactly what my mom said. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
can remember begging her to let us stay out till, especially.
Everything's closed.
Well, exactly. And that's exactly what Mom said. She said, there's nothing open but gas stations. There's nothing good that happens after midnight.
Yeah.
You will not have an extended curfew.
Yeah. Yeah. So I totally related to that.
Yeah.
So she goes and meets him, and he kisses her again. And like, they kind of admit that they've liked each other this whole time, like for 3 years now.
Yeah.
But they've never wanted to act on it. And he asked her to meet him again. And so they start meeting in secret. Okay. I had a problem with this because I was just like, you can't just keep this girl secret. Like, that is so shady.
Yes.
No. And I was really kind of getting frustrated.
And here's the deal. And this is a very popular, and I know why authors and TV shows and movies do it. It's a very popular way to inject some tension into a book. Nothing good ever comes of keeping a secret.
Never.
It's always better to just be upfront from the very beginning, because when the truth finally comes out, very rarely do people get mad about what you were trying to keep a secret. They get mad because
you kept the secret.
Yeah.
That's right.
Again, I know that's a way of building tension, but
yeah. And so, but in my head, I'm like, well, he's ashamed of her because she's the foster girl or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not it at all. He's afraid to tell Mia. He's afraid to tell his mom. Oh, and something we forgot to cover. When he kissed her the first time at the homecoming dance, she burst into tears, sobbing.
Yes.
Which is kind of an odd
as
reaction.
A guy, is not the reaction you want.
And I mean, even as a girl, you're probably like I would be embarrassed. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not what you want.
Yeah.
And I think that was her first kiss. What was your first kiss like?
It was after church one night.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, we had her name was and she was my first girlfriend. And and it was just very, it was just very bland, really.
I'm glad for you because my first one was awful.
Was it?
It was so bad.
Wow.
I will tell you later. We're not going into detail.
This is not a podcast discussion.
Well, I mean, I guess it was just gross. Like, he was very forward and aggressive.
Oh, okay.
And very tongue forward.
Okay, so my first kiss, there was no tongue involved. Yeah, my first kiss, honestly, our first kiss was probably like the kind of kiss I would give my mother.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
And if it had been that, I probably would have been fine with it.
Yeah,
but it was not that. And it was after my first date. I was 16, and let me tell you what, I will not ever forget like closing the door and literally like doing this. And I called my best friend and I was like, I don't know what the fuss is about. That's terrible, and I'm never doing it again. And literally, we dated for a little while longer, a few months. And every time he would try to kiss me, and I was like turning my head and ducking it, and like he would catch a cheek or a forehead. I think he thought I was like being coy and just,
being a prude.
Yes. Okay. Or, modest or whatever. It was just like, no, you ain't. You done blown that, brother.
I was very timid as a teenager, so I would never have been that forward.
So aggressive, so forward, and I was just like,
not
whoa,
an aggressive person.
It was not good. So now I'm very like, it makes a funny story now, but I was appalled as a 16-year-old girl who had waited that long for my first kiss, and that's like something that girls dream about, right?
Yeah.
It was not a good one.
But I would be interested to know how many people's first kiss actually lived up. Because we all have these movie screen ideas of what the first kiss is going to be like. I would be interested to see the statistics for most people. Was your first kiss the movie version, or was it wah, wah, wah?
That's exactly it. If there had been a sound, that would have been it.
If you're listening and wanted to tell us your experience,
we would love to know.
Go to the YouTube comments and let us know, or you can email us at bookishintrovertspodcast. We want to know.
Was your first kiss great or terrible?
Or was it fireworks?
Because it was not fireworks for me. Yeah. But I thought that was so funny that she just burst into tears. Honestly, I kind of felt like crying too, but for different reasons. So I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
So a few days after the dance, we learned Jude tells Miles Zach broke up with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
They don't know why. He's acting weird. He's staying in his room.
Okay,
Can't figure out what's going on.
Is hilarious. She goes, he's behaving differently after the breakup with his girlfriend, and she tells Miles she wanted to say, "Can we talk?"
Yeah.
But to a teenage boy, she said one might say, "Well, may I please rip out my spleen?"
That's right.
Yeah, never talk to your son about emotional stuff.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
Yeah. I just thought that was a funny little, because again, it's so real.
Yes, it was real.
Yeah.
But also what surprised me was Zach's reaction of he starts to really kind of open up to his mom there and asks her how do you know when you're in love with somebody? How do you know if it's true love? And she tells him about the first time she kissed Miles, her husband, his father, and that she burst into tears, and she's like, so if it's true love, she'll cry. And she's like, well, you hope so. And then you're like, oh no, Jude, you don't know what you just said.
Yeah.
You're telling your 17-year-old that this is true love.
How true that is. I don't remember if that was first kiss or not, but she definitely did not burst into tears.
I remember seeing Cody for the first time, just seeing him and being immediately an interest. But I don't think I cried the first time he kissed me.
Yeah.
I don't think I did. I'm almost certain I did.
Again, that's kind of one of those things that
I just thought it was kind of an odd reaction
to write in a book, but I'm not sure that's right.
I don't think it's really legitimate. Yeah. And also, I think that even sometimes if there's not a physical spark immediately, as you grow to learn and love someone, that grows and
we talked about this in the Jenny Hale book. Sometimes you have to grow into it.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
So I just think
don't discount somebody just because you don't get fireworks the first time, because the fireworks can come 2 months later.
Because there's so much to learn about people, right?
Yes.
But one thing I did love about this book, and they're very young, and they make it clear that they love each other. And I think because Lexi came from such a hard background, she knew what real love was and what it was not.
Yeah.
But it also scared her to be open and vulnerable to someone. And so, but the author doesn't discount that you can find love at that young age. And I'm a living testament of that. I met Cody when I was 16. We got engaged when I was 17, and we got married when I was 18.
Wow.
And I mean, here we are 18 years later, and I have spent more of my life with him, if you count the time that we were dating, than I have without him.
Yeah.
And so I think, you can find true love at a very young age.
Yeah.
I think it's harder in this day and age.
Do you think, because a lot of times people that get married that young, they become an unfortunate statistic.
Yeah.
Like, I think you were probably overly mature for your age.
Yeah.
So do you think that may be why?
I think that was part of it. Cody was too. Like he's an old soul too.
Yeah, Cody definitely has an old soul.
And so I think we both came from, broken homes. Our parents had both been divorced. His parent multiple times. And so, it was.
Now, was he raised in a strong Christian family like you?
So no, that's a huge difference in our backgrounds. Is like Cody didn't come to know Christ until he was a teenager on his own. He was a senior, maybe a junior or senior in high school. Junior, I think his junior year was when he got saved. And a friend of his that he went to school with, whose holiness actually invited him to come to church with him. Like long sleeves, they don't shave their face, or they do shave their face, they don't grow out beards.
Oh, okay.
All those things. He went to church with him, and that was actually where he got saved. But he knew he didn't necessarily feel like he needed to be in that denomination of like super strict, because they don't do TVs, they don't do any of those things.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know that I agree with all that, but I do know Jesus saved me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was basically an adult when he came to know the Lord. Now, I think he had probably gone to church a few times here and there, but his family did not attend on a regular basis throughout his childhood. So then JR and Trina introduced us at church. He wrote with JR, and they brought him to church, and we met there.
I love JR and Trina.
I do too.
They
They're
are
so
such
sweet,
fantastic
precious people.
Yes.
JR was actually his best man in our wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Super sweet. Yeah. But yeah, they introduced us. But yeah, he didn't come from that, but he did know, because of like what he had watched his parents walk through, his dad walk through a couple of marriages, like that. We both knew, if we do this, it's forever.
Yeah.
And we don't want if we have children someday, God willing, we don't want them to go through what we went through.
Yeah.
And when my mom and dad split, I was 14, and in a lot of ways, my youngest sister Michaela, she often says that like I was her mom in ways, and I joke that she's my firstborn. But I was 8 years older than her, and so we already had a tight bond anyway. And then like when mom and dad split, I did kind of, in a lot of ways, she just became like mine, and I made sure she was okay and stepped into some things there. Now all of that's different, obviously, and the Lord has restored so many things between me and my real mom, and then gave me an awesome stepmom. And so like it's awesome to see that restoration happens.
Yeah.
And that he can redeem things in real time, to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for Cody and I, because he knew the Lord and had come to know him, and we met at church, like, and he knew that was super important to me.
Yeah.
My faith was very important.
Yeah.
Not going to church. I just told him up front, I was like, it's never going to be an option to not go. My children will be raised in the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, but because we've done that, and because he did continue to grow in his faith, and the Lord has been the center of our marriage. I'm not going to say that there are times that, it's not hard or things, but we do strive to always be moving towards the Lord. And I think as we both move towards the Lord, we move closer to each other. And I think that's what's made it work for us.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if we did not know the Lord and we had not made that agreement early on that we were going to stick it out no matter what, we would have been another statistic.
Yeah.
But it just takes hard work sometimes.
It takes hard work.
And a choice.
And divorce is just as big in the church as it is outside
the
the church.
Statistics are almost exactly the same
Almost,
now.
which is sad.
It's a shame.
But I do think if you both have a strong foundation in the Lord, your chances are so much better.
Absolutely. And again, just choosing. And I'll just real honest, in the last couple of years, we've had some seasons that have been harder.
Yeah.
Where we, again, just had to reaffirm, like, I still choose you. I'm still gonna choose you. I'm gonna love you even when it's hard. Hopefully you'll still love me when I'm unlovable, because there are times I am.
Yeah.
And we just make that choice. And I've heard people say like, oh, marriage is 50-50. That's a bunch of baloney. Like, it is not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 90-10. Sometimes one person is pulling the other along, and then other times you're pulling the other person along.
Yeah.
And it's just not hardly a 50-50.
It's a romantic notion.
It is.
It's a romantic notion.
And I will say, I think because I read so many things voraciously as a child and a young adult and a teenager, I kind of had a skewed viewpoint of what true love should look like.
Yeah.
Fairy tales are not it. Like, real life, fairy tales are fairy tales. Real life is not that.
Yeah.
And so I have had to do a lot of work over the years.
We live in a fallen world. There's no such thing as a fairy tale.
Nothing is perfect.
No.
And no person is perfect.
No.
And so I have had to do a lot of work over the years to like manage my expectations of what romance should be.
But some people put a lot of effort into looking like their life is roses.
And so I feel like Jude was a really good picture of that. Like on the outside,
absolutely,
she had everything looking perfect.
She was the epitome of class.
Mm-hmm.
She spoke right. She dressed right.
Yeah. President of the PTA, like she's doing all these things. She's mom of the year.
She's
but
the
on
one
the inside,
that people look at and go, "That's who I need to be."
But then you realize, like, because what is that perspective called when they write like that, where it's like you're in her, like omniscient?
It's omniscient. Yeah.
So because we're reading that in that omniscient point of view of Jude, you know that like inside she's a mess.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like she has huge fears and huge anxiety. Jude was that, like trying to make it look perfect. And I think hers, and like that's one thing I love, like hers and Miles' marriage, they've been married like a long time, you can tell in the book, and it's solid. Like they're on solid footing.
Yes.
And they love each other. Like there's just little moments that I thought were real and like personable. Like that's really what it is to be married to someone and live with someone for a long time.
Yeah.
But also that he's calling her out all the time, like, Jude, you gotta not hang on so tight.
There were several times he was like, honey, you gotta
cut the cord.
Yeah.
So anyway, eventually they fess up. Yes. Thank God.
Thank God.
Mia's a little upset at first, and then she realizes, like, I love Lexi and I love my brother, so why would I not want them to be happy together?
Yeah.
And so when they finally do tell their parents, mostly everybody's kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
Which I was not expecting. I was like, I sort of thought they were going to blow up.
Drama.
Yeah. I thought they were going to blow up.
Yeah.
But they really didn't.
Well, I really thought Jude was going to sever all ties and be like, you are not welcome here anymore.
Yeah, I did too. I thought so too.
Yeah.
But she does have a conversation with him where she's like, even if things don't work out and you two do break up, I need you to still be Mia's friend.
Yes.
And she makes that promise, like nothing will ever keep me away. Mm-hmm. And like what I love too is like Jude was Zach is in the room for all those conversations. So like, I feel like the expectations were pretty clear.
Yes.
That's also another thing I feel like teenagers don't do a great job of setting expectations and boundaries in relationships.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's something I was not great at early on. And I didn't have a ton of boyfriends. Like I never serial dated per se. Like I didn't go on dates with a whole bunch of people. I had like a boyfriend for 2 years and then a boyfriend for a year and then another boyfriend. Like they were long, but I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. And they were people that I was relatively safe with. Like I can look back on that and think like my dating experience was pretty safe. Also because my parents had boundaries and rules.
Yeah.
For me. And so that's one thing that like, even though she sometimes went overboard with it, Jude was doing her best to be a good mom.
Yeah.
To them and to keep them safe in every way. But I feel like Jude, she even has that conversation with Mia as she starts dating Tyler. Like that part I felt was like a real raw moment where she walks in and she talks to her about birth control. And I was just like, oof, I don't know as a mom if I could do that,
Yeah, that would be a tough discussion.
She didn't have rose-colored glasses on about her kids.
No.
And so I thought that was
Jude was very confident in her ability to have tough discussions with her kids.
Yeah. And they valued honesty, which I think kind of drove the story as well.
And then some of the drama kind of comes toward their senior year of high school because, of course, Zach and Mia come from very fancy, very wealthy family. Mm-hmm. So they're starting to talk about going to school at USC, all these fancy and
4-year universities that are super expensive.
Super expensive. And Jude is very confident that her kids are going to get into those. There is are they going to make it? She is like her kids. There's no question in her mind.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Mia
does not have those resources.
She's basically a trailer park kid. And so can you imagine being from her perspective, hearing all this and knowing I'm lucky if I'm going to even get to go to a community college?
And that's one of the things that they really delve into with Lexi is that kind of conflict of like, she wants to go with them, but she knows it's not even an option.
She knows it's not an option. She and Aunt Eva even had that discussion because Aunt Eva says, I hate that I don't have the money to help you with that. I just love this so much. Lexi says, well, don't say that, Aunt Eva. You've given me everything that matters.
Yeah.
And again, that's not something that kids that age normally would say. Most kids would be like, well, you've ruined my life.
Well, just make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
The entitlement of kids today.
Yes.
It's outrageous to me.
And I just feel like it's so much work. Like kids are meaner these days than they were. And I'm not saying kids were mean back in my day too. I'm not.
But I think social media makes it worse because they will say things from a phone or on Facebook or in a text that they would never say to someone in real life.
Exactly. You come and say that to my face, and most of them would not.
You got to get a knock in the nose.
Exactly.
But you can't knock somebody in the nose on Facebook.
Yeah. Social media can be very important and it can be very good. It's a tool that, it has empowered people to be nasty human beings.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, like my children, I kind of told Cody, Facebook was just coming out whenever I was a senior in high school. So, and when I got on Facebook, it was still like a thing where it was made for college students. So you had to have a college email address with a .edu in order to even sign up for it. So I didn't get Facebook until I was in college. And Cody had it, because he was a student.
What year was that?
2006.
Okay. I started Facebook in 2009.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of around when it opened up to like everybody.
Yeah.
They took the restrictions off. But now it's this whole other thing that I feel like has grown to like massive proportions.
Yeah.
And one of the things Cody and I have talked about a lot is like our children are not getting social media until they are much older. Like I might let them have it at 16. I almost kind of think I want to make them wait until they're adults because there are so many things that I did and said as a child. Even now though, like looking back at 18-year-old me, things that I posted,
yeah.
Because it pops up in your memories, and I'm just like, ooh, that's cringy.
Yeah, I was so cringe in 2008.
Yes. And so I'm like, show them. They don't need to grow up with everything that they've done posted on social media.
I can remember back a few years ago, I don't know if you remember this, back a few years ago on Facebook. Of course, young kids these days, they think Facebook is for old people. Like young kids
because Instagram, right, is where it's at.
Instagram, Snapchat, I don't use stuff like that. Yeah.
I have it, but I don't post on it.
But back in the day, back a few years ago, Facebook went through this phase, or at least on my feed, where all people shared was recipes. And I can remember, do you remember that?
I still get a lot of those.
I can still remember getting so frustrated. It's like, I want to see people's vacation pictures. I want to hear about the fun things that people are doing with their families.
So your algorithm was messed up.
Yes. I'm like, it's like, but it was back before Facebook ads. So, and it was back before you started seeing all this junk from influencers, quote unquote, that you don't care anything about and don't want to see. Like back then, all you saw were the people that you were friends with.
Yeah, this was before Reels. I kind of hate Reels.
I hate Reels. I don't ever watch them.
I do, but it's because like I'll find myself just doom scrolling and I'll look down and 30 minutes have passed and it's like, what have I been doing?
Yeah. But now I'm kind of like, I kind of wish we could go back to the recipes.
Listen, I get it.
I'm sick.
Did you have MySpace?
On Facebook. Yes.
I had a MySpace.
Yeah.
I loved my MySpace. Yeah. Because it was so customizable.
I think MySpace was probably the first social media. I think I was on it before Facebook.
I was too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, it was open to everybody. I loved my MySpace page. That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was totally an outlier there.
Totally an outlier, but that's all right.
Yeah. Social media is a tool. It's a good tool. But, I'm glad that that'll be one of the things that I am more like Jude on. Like, no, we ain't doing that.
Yeah.
We ain't doing that.
Yeah.
So Jude and them, they go to that parent meeting where the police officer is like, hey, teenage drinking is out of control. Like, we got to rein it in. And so the parents are really concerned. They know that this is a thing. It's really on their radar. Mm-hmm. But we also learned that there have been like several accidents on the island where people have been injured because of drinking.
Yes. Yeah.
And so they really have a conversation with that. So
the holidays kind of come.
Yep.
And they all turn 18. And Zach gives me a promise ring. Did I jump too ahead of Harvey?
Nope. That's about right.
He gives her a promise ring. They're starting to go to more parties.
We did jump that part where they do go to that party and they call their mom because they are drunk. And she comes and picks them up.
Yes.
And that is kind of important.
And she has promised them.
There would be no repercussions.
No repercussions.
Except there is.
And
she stops letting them go.
Yes.
For a while.
Yes.
And so that kind of is a pertinent thing, I think, because that ties back to what happens a little later.
Yeah.
But then, yes, the holidays come and he buys her a promise ring.
Lexi is working. This is totally irrelevant. Lexi's working in the ice cream shop, and one of the ice creams she sells is fig and goat cheese.
Okay. Ew. Are you going to eat that?
Well, I would probably try it once.
Would you really?
Probably. It's just disgusting enough to maybe be good.
I mean, some combinations are that way.
I would probably say, give me a spoonful of it.
Let me try it.
Let me try it before I buy it. Yeah.
Okay, I saw that. And I was thinking, that this is like a posh, bougie community of wealthy people.
Exactly.
If they're serving goat cheese and ice cream.
Definitely a rich people ice cream.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm like.
Because, they ain't serving that at Brahms.
No, they are not serving that at Brahms. Yeah.
Give me
but definitely bougie.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was like, ew.
Yeah.
I read that. I was like, I'm not eating that.
Weird things like that stick out to me when I read
loved
it.
it.
Like goat cheese and pig ice cream. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I may not remember the important
I think
things.
she even says that that's like one of their holiday flavors or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me the peppermints.
Yeah.
Give me the pumpkin. Yeah.
Pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
Exactly.
So it's like the hot chocolate one at Brahms at the holidays.
Oh, that's good.
With the marshmallows in it.
Yeah, that one is good.
So Zach gives her that ring. And then he tells his parents at Christmas breakfast, and Jude almost loses it.
Yes.
Like, I loved how Miles was just like, oh, look, we're out of fruit. Let's go to the kitchen. And like picks her up and basically he's like, come on.
Yeah, he's trying to diffuse.
Yeah, he's trying to diffuse the situation. He's like, you need to keep it down. They're going to hear you. She goes, I want them to hear me. Like, been that mom before.
Yeah.
Cody's like, you need to lower your voice. I need them to hear me. And so finally they talk about it. And, he's like, listen, he thinks it's love and I believe him. And so like, let him be. What's the worst that can happen? They're going to go to college.
Well, and honestly, when two teenagers make commitments that early, there's about a 90% chance that nothing's ever going to come of it.
So I should have worn my promise ring.
You have to pick your battles.
I should have worn my promise ring.
You should have.
Cody bought me a promise ring our first Christmas. Like we met in, I'm trying to think. I think.
Was it diamond?
It was diamond.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's actually, it became my engagement ring. And then we bought a band when we got married and I wore that for years.
Oh, okay.
And then he bought me a new ring a little while later. This is my new band that I've been wearing. It's diamond and sapphires. And I think our parents and grandparents had some big emotions now that I think back on that.
Yeah.
How
can you not as a parent?
Yeah. Because you think that you just have your life ahead of you. You don't know what you want at this age. But we knew we wanted each other. So, I mean, I got it from both sides. Like as a parent now, I'm like, oh, if Barrett were to go give a girl a ring at 17 or 18, I'd probably be like, slow your roll. But also, who am I to say that doesn't work?
I was going to say, you better not ever tell them that
I'm
you
not.
got married at 18.
Well, they know.
That will be the first thing they throw
They
in
know,
your
because
face.
Stella asked me that one day. She's like, Mom, how old were you when you and Dad got married? And I was like, why?
24.
And she's like, I just want to know. And I was like, I was 18 and your dad was 20.
As a parent, I think it's okay to lie. That's when you say, we were both 24.
30.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've told them, they know, but I've also told them like, there's no rush. For us, we just knew, like we knew.
It was right for you. Yeah.
But, and I've also been real with them, like, guys, it doesn't always go this way. And for most people that get married that young, it doesn't go that way.
For sure.
We've been real honest with them.
Do you consider yourself like a helicopter mom, or are you pretty low key?
I don't think I'm a helicopter mom. I do worry.
Barrett, is your mom a helicopter mom?
You could call him and ask him. I think he would say no. I kind of let them do their own thing. In fact, we went to the park the other day, and he did not think I was close enough to Bellamy or keeping a close enough eye, because he was constantly like, Mom, where is she? And I'm like, dude, she's my baby. Yeah. She's right over there. I'm watching her. You need to stay closer to her. And I'm like, Barrett,
I have 2 eyes here, one here, and 2 back here.
Okay. Like, she's fine. I've got her. But I do kind of let them have some freedom, because I feel like they have to learn the world around them.
Exactly. You cannot keep them in a bubble.
But now when it comes to like, Barrett does have a cell phone now. And so like when it comes to texting, I'd read his messages. I look at his phone. I'm seeing what you're seeing. We are very careful about what they view. Try to be very careful about what they view.
Yeah. What
they listen to. So, and maybe in that way I am about the content they take in, I guess.
Yeah.
But as far
you're
as like,
trying to protect their innocence.
And it's hard to do.
In
this society. Yeah. It's really hard.
Yeah.
So after that all goes down, we figure out like Zach and Mia kind of do start then getting a little more physical. Mm-hmm. Things kind of take off.
Okay. I think we're kind of skipped over one thing.
Did we?
At the beach, they're the 3 of them at the beach, and they have the thermos.
Oh, they do their time capsule.
They do a little time capsule.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Mia drops in her fancy diamond earrings. Gold earrings. And Zach drops in this medal, the Saint
Christopher medal.
Saint Christopher medal that he carries or wears. And Lexi doesn't have anything like that. So she puts in the frayed friendship bracelet that Mia had woven for her that she had never taken off.
Yeah.
And she takes it off and puts it in that. And they say that there will be no goodbyes. Because at this point, they're making peace with the fact that they're probably going to be going to different colleges. They're not going to be together.
Yes.
Zach and Mia are going to go somewhere together because Mia doesn't think she can go to college without him. Mm-hmm. And Zach doesn't want her to. Yes. But Zach also feels torn because he wants to go with Lexi.
Yeah, because again, they've got this codependency.
Yes, yes.
And I wonder if if that's a byproduct. I love talking about characters as though they're real. Like, is that a byproduct of being a twin, or is that a byproduct of the way they were raised with a helicopter mom?
I think a lot of it's the twin, because if there's those things that she talks about how like they had their own language, and like Zach talked for me all the time. But I think like from what I've read about twins, like that's a pretty common thing.
Very common thing.
And like there's a part later in the they I think a lot of people that I know that are twins say that like they almost kind of can communicate without words, and they know when the other one's okay and when they're not, even without saying anything. They bury their thermos, and they promise to always love each other and never say goodbye, which I thought was really sad and sweet, and also unrealistic. Like, I remember my senior year of high school being like, oh, we'll not lose touch, we're going to talk. The handful of people that I talked to from high school, I can like count them on my fingers.
My friend Becky, we have been friends since grade school, and to this day we're still friends. My friend Janice, we've been friends since high school, and but like my really good friend in school, her name was Ronette, and we were tight. I never dreamed, and like we have not talked in probably 20 years.
The girl that was the best was my maid of honor at my wedding. Like, she was my best friend the last couple of years of high school. Like, we were tight. Maid of honor. And then I can't tell you the last time I talked to her.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of sad, but also you just grow. Like,
you grow. Yeah.
And circumstances and people change. Mm-hmm. It's like, I see her pictures and stuff on Facebook now, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad they're doing good.
I got to tell you this. We went to the fair one year when I was in high school.
Okay.
Ronette and I, we went to the fair, and I cannot ride rides that go round. They literally make me physically, physically make me sick.
Yep.
She talked me into, what's that ride where you stand up, you're belted in, and it goes up and down.
Brett,
it goes round.
I rode it one time. Never again.
Yeah, and then it goes up. Yes. And vertical, then it goes back down. Yeah. She somehow, and I was like, Ronette, you will have to take me home after this if I ride that. Oh no, it's not that bad.
Fine.
Yeah.
People who do not get motion sick do not understand.
They do not understand.
They do not know.
Yeah, and she totally did not understand it. So how do women can talk a man into something they don't want to do?
Those the kind of things mess me up for the rest of the day. Like, I'm sick for the rest of the day.
Sick, and even the next day. Yeah,
it's awful.
It totally messes up your whole. It gives you vertigo.
I think it's something to do with like the equilibrium, like all of that.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Well, she got me on it, and girl, I started Exorcist level vomiting.
Oh, Brett!
Not even halfway through the ride.
No.
I was like a limp dog by the time the ride was over. Yeah, and of course she was just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
My friend Dusty, he's my mom's best friend's son.
Okay.
So of course he wasn't on the ride with us. So when we got off, he comes up behind me and he goes, "Oh my gosh!" Slaps me on the back. This is the kind of friend Ronette was. Ronette beat the crud out of him.
Beat him up
because she thought he was being mean to me. She literally beat the crud.
She was being protective. She was sticking up for you. Yeah, that's a good friend.
She was a good friend. Yeah, so that's the kind of friend she was.
I rode that one time, and I did not throw up on the ride. I threw up when I got off after it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, no, and my kids, Stella loves rides. Cody likes riding roller coasters.
I love roller coasters.
I can't do them. I can't. Even those make me physically sick. And so we went to Branson last, like in the fall, around winter, around Christmas. Took the kids with a bunch of friends, and Barrett's like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ride a ride. I'm like, I'm going to ride a roller coaster. And they did Thunderation the first time. And Brett, he was green as that napkin.
Wow.
When he got off that ride. And he was miserable.
So he's got your constitution.
Got me. And he was miserable for the rest of the day.
So when I get that sick on a ride,
he was done. He was just done.
I got to go back to the hotel and sleep for the rest of the day.
And so now, like, Stella's wanting to go in July with some friends, and Barrett was like, oh, Mom, please don't make me go to Solar Dollar City. We won't go. I'll send money for her so she can go. Yeah, he just doesn't care if he ever goes back.
Yeah.
And it kind of is a waste of money for us. Like, I don't ride anything. He doesn't ride anything. The only thing I'll say it's worth is the food.
That's what I just started to say. I will go to the fair and pay $20 to get in just for the corn dogs.
Corn dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they not the best?
They are the best.
Those long corn dogs and that fresh squeezed lemonade.
The people that work there look like something the cat dragged in, but the carny food is the best.
They serve.
And if you're a carny, I don't mean any disrespect, but yeah.
No, listen, hey, that's a vital function of stuff. That's something I've been talking about with my kids lately is like, you know that every job is important. Like every single job is important. And so even if it's not something you would want to do, let's be thankful that somebody does it.
Exactly.
That's a hard
When I was in high school, my very first job was working at McDonald's.
Okay.
Me, my friend Becky, my friend Janice, we all worked at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And Janice, like to this day, sometimes we talk, Janice will be like, I would love to just go back to McDonald's and work for a day. I'm like, girl, not me.
You wouldn't go back.
You couldn't pay me to go back to McDonald's. Like, honestly, I can count on one hand how many times I've eaten at McDonald's since I quit.
You know what? Real talk. I stopped there for breakfast this morning.
Did you?
I hardly ever eat there. I don't eat there like for lunch.
Yeah.
I say that every great once in a while, like once a year, maybe even less than that. I get this itch for a fillet of fish sandwich, and I'll go get one of those.
Yeah.
I regret it every time, but
Sometimes
it tastes so good in the first place. But today I did stop. I will eat breakfast there some. And so today I stopped and got breakfast, and it's the hash browns for me. Like,
okay.
What do they fry those in? Is there crack cocaine in that oil?
I think there might be.
So good.
I don't remember what kind of oil it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that was a totally random
thanks
sidebar.
for sticking with us through that.
Yeah, sorry guys. Okay. So Lexi has her 18th birthday. The twins had turned 18 before.
Mm-hmm.
Jude had bought a ring that was her graduation present, wasn't it?
Yes, graduation.
For Mia.
Yeah. But it doesn't have a stone in it.
But it doesn't have a stone in it. And so they were going to go pick it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she wanted Mia to choose the stone. Yeah.
Which I thought was really sweet. I was like, oh, that's
again,
nice.
Or rich people.
Yeah, I mean, my parents weren't buying me a ring at graduation. Yeah. But we were too focused on, you're going to have all this stuff for college.
$100. Go have fun.
Yeah. So then Lexi's birthday, Eva has donuts for her with a candle. And like, how sweet.
Yeah.
For a girl who grew up in foster care, that was huge. Yeah. Monumental.
Oh, for sure.
And like it really touched Lexi's heart. She buys her a sweater, and then she gives her a catalog for this college in Florida because Eva wants to move to Florida to be with her sister. So Lexi's like, I mean, she wants her aunt to be happy and to go to Florida if that's where she wants to be, but also she doesn't want to leave her friends.
Yes.
And I get that.
You can get that because she doesn't make friends easily. So
that's right.
If she goes to Florida, she's going back to having enough friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we move into Mia's getting home from school. Jude's in the garage, and she hears Mia like slamming through the house and goes up there, and Mia's just sobbing, and Tyler has broken up with her.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbreak.
Yes.
Heartbreak. And so Mia tells her mom, like, what if nobody else liked me? And Jude's real sweet, and like, if they can't like you for who you are, then that's not who you're meant to be with anyway. So true.
Exactly.
So true. And like says all the right
things.
But
it's such a hard concept to grasp when it's your first heartbreak.
Yeah.
Because you literally do think the world is ending.
It's ending.
When you have your first heartbreak.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And your second one and your third one.
Heartbreak is never easy. It doesn't get easier.
No.
So, I mean.
Yeah.
Time heals eventually.
Time heals, yeah.
So then we move into like 10 days before graduation, their graduation practice. And afterwards, Zach tells Lexi that he wants to go with her to community college and that he's not going to go to USC. And she knows that this is going to make Jude and Miles really upset and it's going to make Mia upset.
Yes.
And it really does.
Well, and this is the one time where even Miles, but Miles is very chill. And he even says,
like, you're not throwing away your future.
This is the choice you make. You are paying for your own college. We are not
Do it
paying
yourself.
Yeah.
And so, which kind of surprised me, but also I kind of get it.
And Jude blames Lexi for causing strife in her family.
Jude blames Lexi, kind of turns on her immediately. And she's like, listen, please don't be mad at me. This is not my fault. And she's like, yeah, I think it is your fault.
Yeah. Well, and Jude even makes Lexi go up to Mia's room.
Yeah, and tell her,
okay, you're going to go to USC. Yeah. I'm going to the state college.
Yeah. And she does. She does what she's asked.
Yeah, she does.
But, it does lead to some resentment.
Yeah.
And Jude's worried about that, and it's weighing on her. And then, so amidst all of this, though, like, Zach is thinking, well, no, I'm just going to go ahead and do what's all right. And Mia's like, no, I'm going to go ahead and do what's all right. They're all trying to do the right thing by each other because I think they all genuinely do love each other.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's so much conflict within that.
Their relationship is
solid.
Deep.
Yeah,
it's not superficial. It's not surface level.
Yeah, and I love that. That they cared that much for one another.
Yeah.
That they were all willing to make sacrifices for one another.
I mean, and we're talking huge sacrifices.
Yeah, big changes.
Like Zach was literally considering not going to his Ivy League school.
Yeah.
To be with Lexi.
And then Mia decides, no, I'm not going to go. I'm going to go to community.
Which is Charity.
And USC
mature.
was her dream. So like Zach was like giving up his things to go for her.
Mm-hmm.
USC is what Mia desires and loves and wants more than anything.
Yes.
But she decides, no, I'm going to do this. And so she goes to tell her mom this before they leave to go to the senior barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom is like, this discussion's not over. We'll continue it tomorrow. And she's like, Mom, this is what I'm doing. And she's like, can you ever forgive me? And she says no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
She reminds the twins that they have a curfew at 1 o'clock, that Zach is the DD, no matter what. And please don't drink.
The designated driver.
Yeah.
And this is their last senior party.
Their last party before graduation.
Yeah.
And so they leave and head to the party. They pick Lexi up. So when they get there, though, Zach immediately shotguns a beer. And Lexi's like, hold up. You're the DD.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's okay. You're not my mom. And walks away from her.
Yeah.
Because he's angsty and dealing with all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they're having unusual family trauma at home.
Yes.
Or family drama.
Normally things are very peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lexi and Mia decide they're going to go hang out, and they walk down to the woods. Mia sees her ex-boyfriend with a girl, grabs a beer and gulps it down. And then Lexi's like, well, fine, I'll drink one too.
Of course, I know they're teenagers, but
they're teenagers.
The mature thing to do is, okay, if my designated driver is going to start drinking,
somebody else has to be the DD.
This is my clue to be the DD.
Right.
Yeah.
But none of them make a good choice.
None of them make a good choice.
Which, I mean, this is something else I was thinking about. You know, there's been studies done, and that the frontal lobe of the brain, like where all of our decision making is done. Did you know that's not done like fully developing until your mid-20s?
Until your mid-20s. Yeah.
How do we expect kids to make good decisions?
Exactly.
Their brain is not even fully developed. So I find that wild.
So they make very poor decisions.
They make very poor decisions. Yeah. Lexi and Mia continue to drink. Zach continues to drink. Lexi's probably the least inebriated because she watched her mother be involved. Yeah. She was an addict. She was involved in drugs and alcohol. And so she's very cautious about those things. Mm-hmm. But she does partake a little bit. And then
For those listening, we are about to get into major spoiler territory. So if you don't want to listen anymore, now's a good time to check
and
out.
maybe also
It's very
trigger warning.
Hard to talk about a book like this without talking about spoilers, because if we don't talk about the spoilers,
we can't discuss the book.
We can't discuss the book. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, you may want to fast forward a little.
And also just check out. Trigger warning, because there is child loss coming up.
Yes.
So if that's something that's sensitive to you, maybe stop here.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks for joining us on the Bookish Introverts podcast, where together we explore the worlds within the pages. Until next time, stay bookish.